Hello, my name's Marie Davis and I'm here to speak with you a short presentation on creative respite in lockdown and the difference it's made to carers and young carers in Powys. After the presentation, I'll be around for a short time to answer any questions you might have. So Credi is a network partner of Carers Trust Wales. We're based in Llandrindod, Wales, and we support young carers and adult carers throughout Powys, young carers with Wicked Young Carers in Wrexham, Conwy and Denbighshire, and as part of Gofalwyr Ceredig Young Carers, supporting adult carers in Ceredigion. I've been working with Credi and supporting young carers and carers for coming up 17 years, and I live in Llandrindod, Wales, and I'm a farmer's daughter in Llandrindod, Wales. So the Creative Respite Project, or the Co-Producing Respite Project, has been a journey of co-production after lots of listening to carers. And the journey of the design of this project is in another presentation available. But the vision of the project that I've been working on is a bespoke respite tailored to individual carers. It's had a new role, which is mine, and it has a respite budget to start putting some action learning into making a difference of what respite might mean for carers in Powys. But what do carers tell us respite means? The word respite means a lot of different things to people. Essentially, carers are telling us, and young carers tell us, that it's about ways to have a manageable caring role and to have a life alongside caring. And today's presentation is going to concentrate on two themes: online connections and the individual grants. Here's Dylan Owen, who's been along the journey with Credi in the design, and him and his team have been so supportive of our work. Dylan chairs the Carer Steering Group, the Carer Steering Group is part of the Regional Partnership Board, and they're the group that have commissioned this.
Dylan Owen dwi'n gweithio i gwasanaethau cymdeithasol ym Powys. I'm Dylan Owen, I work for Social Services in Powys. This is a great service that we're talking about, that Credi are now providing. It's a bespoke respite service. Mae'n wasanaeth arbennig ac unigryw sydd yn darparu ysbaid i bobl sydd angen gofal ac i ofalwyr mwyn rhoi cefnogaeth iddyn nhw, mwyn sicrhau bod nhw'n gallu cario ymlaen gyda darparu gofal, gyda rhoi gofal i wenwyliad, ac mae o'n hollol unigryw. Mae o'n edrych ar beth mae rhywun i angen ac wedyn yn darparu hwnnw. Gwneud y beth iawn, llai o arian yn aml iawn, ond gwneud y beth iawn ac yn hyrwyddo annibyniaeth i unigolion, yn eu cefnogi nhw. Ni mor falch bod ni'n cydweithio gyda Credi ar hyn. It's a great service, it's unique, it provides bespoke respite care, it enables carers to continue to provide the care that's needed, it enables people to live independently, often providing small items in order to enable people to live independently and to support the carers to have that break, to have that essential break to enable them to continue in their roles. We're so proud that we're working with Credi and doing this work, and we wish it every success. Diolch.
Well, diolch, Dylan. It's been a pleasure to work with you. So, Respite in lockdown, the project that I started working on in November last year, and we had pretty amazing plans involving bringing carers together, doing fun things, learning, training, opportunities for carers to come together to enjoy things with each other and with their families, getting out and about in accessible ways. But lockdown happened. So we really had to rethink our plan. One of the things we cancelled was a respite retreat where carers were going to Skillshare by the activities themselves. So that's quite disappointing. So there was disappointment. There was a bit of so much uncertainty. So we had to rethink our plans. How can we make a difference to carers over lockdown? We wrote to carers with support at the start of lockdown. We asked them some questions. What might help you in lockdown? What might help you have a break, make being at home or in your garden comfortable? We had really good contact with our commissioning partners, Dylan, Sally and Nikki in the commissioning team, who really supported us to go ahead, rethink our plans and make a difference to carers in such a difficult time. Many forms of traditional respite and things that carers told us gave them a break. School, work, training, they weren't available or they were very reduced. Carers told us that they reduced the domiciliary care packages to the bare minimum because they were scared about bringing COVID in. Mandy talked about how lockdown hit her, and she calls it welcome to our world.
When COVID hit, I felt a bit like it was welcome to our world. Quite a time with my daughter being so poorly. We was unable to get out, so we were quite locked at home and not very able to go to sort of get out and go and do things like perhaps other parents could. When COVID hit, it was a bit of a light bulb moment for me. It was a bit like, oh, well, we've been living like this for quite a number of years. And so it was interesting, that flip of people getting out and about, and then now they can't get out and sort of like going on social media. We hit it running. We quickly learned how to use Zoom, and I think my job really helped sort of pursue that, because without getting on the internet and doing things, we were going to be very isolated. So I feel Credi, especially myself and a colleague, were the first to get on Zoom and have a go, and we just set up a little bit of a craft group, thought see how it could go, see if anyone's interested. It was something that we really enjoyed and wanted to share with other carers, and it was a way of bringing people together and feeling less lonely. And to me, going online has just been really amazing. It's, as a parent carer as well as someone working for Credi, it's invaluable what I've learned through COVID, but especially around the internet side, because I envisage this being carried forward in the future for a long, long time. And I feel it's now included people that can't get out of the house and showed us other ways of being able to connect with people. And I hear it as well from a lot of the carers and friends of mine that, with lockdown, persuaded people to get on the internet a bit more to link up with people, and actually it's another form of communicating with people other than meeting up face to face. Don't get me wrong, I love face to face, but when you've got a child with complex needs and can't get out more, often not able to do that. So for me, the light bulb moment for me was COVID, and how it was just welcome to our world, because we've been living like this for quite a while, really.
Thank you, Mandy. We had never heard of Zoom back in February. We did a lot of training because we couldn't do face-to-face to get out there and connect with carers. Other online things that have popped up, been created by listening and learning with carers and young carers who have told us what they're into. It's been Twitch streaming sessions, wellbeing webinars with Apple a Day, cuppa and chat sessions through Zoom, Grŵp Cymraeg with gyfawr Ceredigion carers for our Welsh-speaking carers, ASD meetings, some for parents and carers, and others for people living with ASD, undiagnosed or diagnosed themselves. In carers virtual groups, in carers virtual camp. We used to have like camp weekends where the young carers would come together, so we've done virtual ones. Information sessions such as benefits advice with Citizens Advice and Mandy's craft group.
So I want to talk and share with you about how our lovely Credi Craft for All group come about. So me and a colleague, when we hit lockdown, we shared an evening where we decided we were going to meet up and we were going to do craft together over Zoom, and we had a bit of wine. So we planned out what we were going to do, and we had the conversation around, oh, wouldn't it be lovely to have a go at perhaps doing this online? How can we do it? Can we do it? Shall we have a go? And so from there, we set up a bit of a Facebook group that then led on to a Zoom group, which then other colleagues wanted to share the idea and look at the learning behind what we were doing with the craft group. Not only that, other people that we had connections with were really interested. How we just literally had to go. We were on Zoom, where we didn't know if it could work. We didn't know if anyone would want to come, if we could deliver it online, how we could deliver it online. But the wonderful thing about the group was really how it blossomed. So initially we invited the carers, we had a carers group. Very much we wanted it to be really simple things. We got guest people in to come and show them some of the crafts, but on a really simple level. And it just created this space where we could share these skills with carers, and it wasn't even about being carer. It was about people just understanding the space that you're in and sharing a skill. And the group has just absolutely blossomed, and it's really nice to come together and have a purpose and a meaning to come together. It was really nice to have a chat, but what drew people in, I think, was the purpose of being there, and that hour was for them and their craft. And I hear some wonderful stories of how it's helped carers in a time of perhaps some people might find have been really lonely, but I've seen some wonderful things come from lockdown and the learning that's gone on in lockdown. And it was all age groups as well that have been wanting to get involved, and it's just been really wonderful to be part of that journey with our craft group. So thank you for listening.
The craft group have also done some joint projects, and Freddie supported them with some of the materials. Thank you, Mandy. Some feedback from those craft members. My circle of contacts is small. I can have a meet up with people. Nice to have safe contact. I couldn't get out of the house before. It means I can interact with people when I'm at home, and I can't get out of the house. I hope it doesn't get forgotten. I think it can't get forgotten. And even after we learn to live with COVID, we'll be thinking of a way to make a blended, both face-to-face and online options available for what suits carers and times that suits them and the ways that suits them, to have more options of how they get their support. So the individual grants. So the project is funded by the Regional Partnership Board and until the end of March. It has this respite budget, so to enable accessing respite. The process is the 4 steps: understanding what matters, designing with the carer and applying for the funds, reflection, decision and practical arrangements, and valuation, understanding the difference. Freddie's done a lot of work in how we truly listen and understand what matters. All of the staff and volunteers have been trained in collaborative communication skills. Managers have been trained in collaborative communication mentoring skills. And we are invited to Social Care Wales's events to share the learning and practice about using the outcome and strength-based approach in our work. All those have really inspired the design of the individual grants. We're doing things a little bit differently. There's no strict funding limit. There's no strict eligibility in terms of what will be funded. It has to meet the outcome of giving the carer a break, listening to them on what would help them either have a break, help them out to reduce their role, have a manageable caring role, or a life alongside caring. The carer tells us what's happening for them. Outreach workers that working with them, listening to that, finding the opportunities. And sometimes a little bit of money might help reduce that barrier or make something happen. Once the outreach worker has identified that, they've come to me or they've come to a manager of Creddy, the team leader, and they're talking about the case, telling us what they've heard in the carer's own words and the story. They tell us how the solution has come about. They tell us what the carers and their families would believe the difference would make. It can be sometimes quite confusing about how much can I have? What am I allowed to have? And some carers have found it really surprising, maybe too good to be true, that what they're asking for will actually be supported. It's really refreshing for our workers to be able to make things that they see are needed happen. So we make the decision together. Sometimes in the conversations, you can hear that the outreach worker might not have all of the information. And sometimes they go back and find that the outreach worker's own judgment really listened to. And if they don't believe in it, then we'll think again. And really thinking about the value for money and choice that the carers have. So when they're thinking of the item, it's as much as possible item that the carer wants and chooses. And then it's about making things happen as quickly as possible. In Creddy, we're really lucky. We're a relatively small organisation, so we can make payments quickly. We can make things arrive. Unfortunately, in lockdown, a lot of the solutions were items and needed to be bought online. And there were some issues with things being out of stock, as everybody else was thinking similar things. And the final stage is evaluation, the initial feedback, and then after the solution's in place, the feedback about what difference it's made. And we'll go back because some of these solutions will last for years. Here's some examples. The Respite Fund funds sensory equipment. So for some carers, having a sense of calm in their house when routines were disrupted, when people couldn't go outside or meet with other people or support wasn't there, some of the solutions were about a calm house. Some were about enjoying the spaces they were in. In this example, long-handled tools for both the husband and the wife, so they could garden together, enjoy their garden as a family. It's as good as a day out, carer said. Also, sometimes it's a practical thing. An example here is about a washing machine and tumble dryer. Some things are about a bit of fun, water pistols, outside games, connections. I finally have friends. Mum going to the ASD meetings I mentioned earlier. They've benefited everyone in the family in an amazing way. Another example was an emergency loan. It stopped the family dismissing their personal assistant and resigning from their job. Once it was resolved, the funds were returned in full to Credit because the family wanted to make sure that somebody else benefit from the support. Here's Nikki's story.
Hi, my name's Nikki Morris. I'm a youth intervention worker, a mum of 2 sons, a hairdresser and a makeup artist, and since COVID, I've realised that I'm actually a carer too. I just want to tell you a little bit of my story and how the Respite Fund has impacted and made such a significant difference on my life. At the beginning of lockdown, I'm a one-parent family. My son is 19. He has ASD, ADHD and mental health issues. And not really just because of COVID, he was struggling with his mental health. And my way of coping was to go out on my bike in the mornings and sometimes in the afternoons, just to allow myself to be able to still carry on with my job, my day job, supporting young people and their families, but also to be able to support my son as well. So in order to be able to support my mental health, I used to go out on a daily basis, twice daily really, sometimes on my bike. And then one day I got back home and my bike had been playing up, and I put it in the garage and it literally fell apart. And actually I fell apart too. I just sat down on the garage floor and started to cry because I was just realising I just didn't know how I would cope to be able to support my son without my bike. And I just happened to talk in a professional capacity about a family that I was supporting with Sally Duckers from Credo. And we got onto the subject of, she'd asked me how my son was, and I told her all about my bike. And she said, well, you know, Nikki, you're a carer too. And I was like, oh, no. So we got onto it, and Sally then referred me to the fund. So traditional ways that we've worked, you know, and I think organisations have worked prior to lockdown, COVID has really made us think outside the box, because, you know, like, who'd have thought, you know, respite in the form of a bike would have made such a difference. I honestly didn't think that I would be coming out of lockdown with a son, and I'm not saying that, you know, it's just the bike that's made the difference, but actually for my own mental health and well-being, having that bike and being able to get away and have a little bit of respite and a bit of time for me has probably saved both of us. So I just can't thank you enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikki, for sharing that story. It's really powerful stuff. Critical success factors of the project: listening to understand, valuing every individual, noticing, acknowledging strength, supporting them to identify a solution, as far as possible, take action for themselves. When we focus not on what we can afford, but what is possible, we create solutions of high value, but often not at high cost. Keeping processes very simple to help do what matters when it matters. Also a difference to Credit, the team and how we've worked. Feedback from outreach workers giving real motivation that they're able to help in a really easy, being able to help in a really practical way and really provide something that will make a real difference. And for some, quite that difference will last for a long time. One of our colleagues said, by supporting the carer and their well-being, we're improving the overall well-being of the whole household. It's helped our thinking about outcomes, what is already available, each person's own skills and strengths, and what else would make a difference. The Respite Fund has sometimes provided match funding or filled the gap when other available support doesn't quite hit what the carer needs. In lockdown, we had to change the way that we worked. Outreach workers weren't quite sure how we'd be able to help. We've made life-changing differences. Amazed, surprised, emotional, thankful, hopeful, and finding joy because of the help on offer. It's been a relief to both workers and families, and having the support so easily accessible. It makes our work better quality. It's quickly changed, being part of what we do. We are being really careful for it not to be about money, but about hope and resilience. It's made us feel happier and lighter at this time. We really needed this. And here's Nikki again, talking about the difference it makes to partners who have been able to refer in to Credi support, also raising awareness of carers and young carers.
So during lockdown as well, the fund, I guess, after my support made me realise just how many young people actually were young carers as well. They sort of made me, in my professional capacity, it made me actually realise and be much more sensitive to it. So not only has it made a significant impact on me, I was able to make a lot of referrals to young carers, and then they were supported by the fund. So again, having a bike, having a paddling pool, lots and lots of different things. A young person received a laptop. It is life-changing, and maybe we need to think about, thinking outside the box, how now in this day and age, in the modern age, we actually look at what carers need with Respite.
Thank you so much, Nikki. And thank you to everybody, particularly Dylan, Mandy, Nikki, Carer Steering Group, for making this project. Thank you for listening. On screen are my contact details. Feel free to get in touch if you'd like to know more and help share the learning. Thank you.